My grievances hide the light of the world in me. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. My salvation comes from me, comes from me. My salvation comes from me, comes from me. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. My salvation comes from me, comes from me. For my happiness comes from me, comes from me. Don't have to look outside, it's all inside. Your salvation and your happiness, they're inside, because that's where God's found. My salvation comes from me. My salvation comes from me, comes from me. But my grievances hide the light of the world in me. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. My salvation comes from me, comes from me. Don't look outside, it's inside. Behold, don't say it's over there and later, and it's now. The kingdom of heaven is now. For anyone who wants to enter in, just leave your grievances beside. Take them off at the door and leave them behind, like your shoes. Okay, well, I'm out here in front of one of my circle gardens. See old Jed laying there in the sun. I'm Forgiveness Willie, teaching forgiveness from the Ozarks here, which is basically the foundation for miracles. We're teaching out of A Course in Miracles. That's really what we're studying. Lesson 85, and which is for Wednesday, March the 26th of 2025's lesson. And today for me is the Sunday preceding that, sitting out here on a nice comfortable spring day. Okay, let's take a look at lesson 85, which is a review of lessons 69 and 70. 69, today's review will cover these ideas. 69, my grievances hide the light of the world in me. And lesson 70, my salvation comes from me. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. My grievances show me what is not there and hide from me what I would see. Recognizing this, what do I want my grievances for? They keep me in darkness and hide the light. Grievances and light cannot go together, but light and vision must be joined for me to see. To see, I must lay grievances aside. I want to see, and this will be the means by which I will succeed, by leaving my grievances, my unforgivenesses, my angers, my bitternesses, my resentments. Leave all those behind and see that God is everywhere present, always. So just be aware that grievances are hiding the light of the world in you, and that look inside where you're going to find that light, because has our lesson, my salvation comes from me. Okay, my grievances hide the light of the world in me. Specific applications for this idea might be made in these forms. So if something comes up that kind of takes your peace away, doesn't matter what it is, tell yourself, let me not use this as a block to sight. The light of the world will shine all this away. I have no need for this. I want to see. So those are some specific applications of the general idea. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. In our lesson 70, my salvation comes from me. Today I will recognize where my salvation is. It is in me because its source is there. It has not left its source, and so it cannot have left my mind. I will not look for it outside myself. It is not found outside and then brought in, but from within me it will reach beyond, and everything I see will but reflect the light that shines in me and in itself. So once you look inside and you find the light, you'll realize it shines everywhere. It wasn't just inside. But the only way to find it is to go beyond your belief systems, your judgments, your guilts, your angers, your depressions. See, we're going to talk more about the god of depression here in a little bit. The false god, the idol. And for some reason, Jed thinks he needs to tell those horses back there to stay back. Well, they can't get in the garden anyway. I hope not. Okay, so my salvation comes from me. Let's read it again. Today I will recognize where my salvation is. It is in me because its source is there. It has not left its source, and so it cannot have left my mind. I will not look for it outside myself. It is not found outside and then brought in, but from within me it will reach beyond. From within me it will reach beyond, and everything I see will but reflect the light that shines in me and in itself. These forms of the idea are suitable for more specific applications. So if you're tempted to be upset, tell yourself, let this not tempt me to look away from me for my salvation. So whatever it is that's kind of made you upset, what somebody might have said maybe, or usually it's you're home thinking about what they said, or maybe you're not home at all, but you know what I'm saying. You're thinking about what someone said to you, and you've interpreted it in a way. Let this not tempt me to look away from me for my salvation. I will not let this interfere with my awareness of the source of my salvation. I will not let this interfere with my awareness of the source of my salvation. It's inside. This has no power to remove salvation from me. This has no power to remove salvation from me. Okay, well, let's take a look now at our text reading. And we're in chapter 10, the denial of God. And yesterday was the end of sickness. So let's pick up here on the denial of God, which is in chapter 10, the idols of sickness, Roman numeral 5, the denial of God. Last year I said the Roman numeral, I think I said 10. But anyway, had to go back and look. I said, is there 10 sections in that chapter? No, I said the wrong thing. The denial of God. The rituals of the god of sickness are strange and very demanding. Joy is never permitted, for depression is the sign of allegiance to him. Wow, you want to be sure you're worshiping the god of sickness, the ego. Well, then be sure you're depressed. Or just look, if you are depressed, well, then you know what you're doing. Depression means that you have forsworn God. Now, what does forsworn mean? Forsworn is to agree to give up or do without, from the Merriam-Webster. Depression means that you have agreed to give up and do without God. Many are afraid of blasphemy. And the word blasphemy, let's stop there. The Merriam-Webster says showing great disrespect toward God or something holy. Many are afraid of blasphemy, but they do not understand what it means. They do not realize that to deny God is to not deny their own identity, and in this sense, the wages of sin is death. So he's explaining how you can interpret that verse out of Romans chapter 6 and verse 23, which is a really key verse for a lot of Christian people who want to teach the concept of that we're separate from God and that we need to be reconnected through the basically through the death of Jesus. He was a good example, and we need to follow him in the resurrection. But in this sense, the wages of sin are death. And a couple other, when he says they do not realize that to deny God is to deny their own identity, and in this sense the wages of sin is death, which is that quote out of Romans 6 and verse 23. Also, if you want to read just a little bit about what Jesus had to say about blasphemy in the New Testament, you can read about it in Matthew chapter 12, verse 31, and Mark 3 and verse 29. And I might give you pause to think about, when you look at that, consider that these were written by men who didn't really understand everything yet. And they may have taken Jesus' words and emphasized things that he didn't really want emphasized. But because when you look at those through the eyes of the ego, it does seem like that it's a terrible thing to blaspheme the Holy Spirit. Which, it is terrible in the sense that you go unconscious, you don't know who you are, you go to sleep and you dream of death. Okay, so they do not realize that to deny God is to deny their own identity, and in this sense the wages of sin is death. The sense is very literal. Denial of life perceives its opposite, as all forms of denial replace what is with what is not. No one can really do this, but that you can think you can and believe you have is beyond dispute. 2. Do not forget, however, that to deny God will inevitably result in projection, and you will believe that others and not yourself have done this to you. You must receive the message you give because it is the message you want. You may believe that you judge your brothers for the messages they give you, but you have judged them by the message you give to them. Do not attribute your denial of joy to them, or you cannot see the spark in them that would bring joy to you. Okay, remember, my salvation comes from me. You don't need anyone to be any different than the way they want to be, because that is looking outside yourself, thinking that salvation comes from someone other than you. It comes from God, but it's from within inside. You don't have to get caught up on, I'm so arrogant, everything comes from me, I'm so lofty, which you really are, but only in God. Everything comes from God. Do not attribute your denial of joy to them, or you cannot see the spark in them that would bring joy to you. It is the denial of the spark that brings depression. For whenever you see your brothers without it, you are denying God. So you want to see God in everyone. That's why we want to be quick to be able to say namaste and mean it. I see God in you. I see peace in you. I see love in you. I see my Creator in you. We're one and the same. We're parts of the same. We're cells in the same body. Paragraph 3. Allegiance to the denial of God is the ego's religion. Wow. Allegiance to the denial of God is the ego's religion. The God of sickness obviously demands the denial of health, because health is in direct opposition to its own survival. But consider what this means to you. Unless you are sick, you cannot keep the gods you made, for only in sickness could you possibly want them. Blasphemy, then, is self-destructive, not God-destructive. It means that you are willing not to know yourself in order to be sick. If you really understood that, you would wake up, wouldn't we? Blasphemy, then, is self-destructive, not God-destructive. It means that you are willing not to know yourself in order to be sick. This is the suffering your God demands, because having made him out of your insanity, he is an insane idea. He has many forms, but although he may seem to be many different things, he is but one idea, the denial of God. Sickness and death seemed to enter the mind of God's Son against his will. The attack on God made his Son think he was fatherless, and out of his depression he made the God of depression. This was his alternative to joy, because he would not accept the fact that although he was a creator, he had been created. Yet the Son is helpless without the Father, who alone is his help. Therefore, it's saying it a little better there about what I said a while ago. This was the alternative to joy. his depression? Because he would not accept the fact that although he was a creator, even though we are creators, he had not been created. In other words, we have a creator that's created us, and we have to be in his image. We can't, even though we are creators, we want to create in harmony with the extension of love which created us. Otherwise, we get out of harmony, and we end up going unconscious, go to sleep, end up dying or getting sick, all that stuff. Okay, so this was his alternative to joy, because he would not accept the fact that although he was a creator, he had been created. Yet the Son is helpless without the Father, who alone is his help. Thank you, Father. This is my beloved Son, in who I am well pleased. That's what God says to us. Let's enter into that realization. I said before that of yourself you can do nothing, but you are not of yourself. If you were, what you have made would be true and you could never escape. It is because you did not make yourself that you need be troubled over nothing. There's a lot of Bible verses through here that I'm not actually mentioning to you, that I can see that he's using the Bible to communicate ideas that he'd like us to move in a deeper understanding of. So this particular one I'm seeing here is John 14 and verse 1, where Jesus says, "Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you so." Anyway, that's at John chapter 14, verse 1. In which he basically says, let not your heart be troubled. And he says, it is because you did not make yourself that you need be troubled over nothing. Your gods are nothing because your Father did not create them. You cannot make creators who are unlike your Creator any more than he could have created a son who is unlike him. If creation is sharing, it cannot create what is unlike itself. It can share only what it is. Depression is isolation, and so it could not have been created. In paragraph 6, Son of God, you have not sinned, but you have been much mistaken. Yet this can be corrected, and God will help you, knowing that you could not sin against him. You denied him because you loved him. You denied him because you loved him, knowing that if you recognized your love for him, you could not deny him. There is some deep thoughts there you have to spend a little time thinking about. You denied him because you loved him. Isn't that something? Split mind, denying what it loves. Knowing that if you recognized your love for him, you could not deny him. You wanted to deny him, because you loved him so much, you had to deny him, because you knew if you looked at it close enough, you wouldn't deny him. Well, that's what we wanted. That's why we want to take our quiet times today, learn to get more conscious of what we've denied. Just under the surface, My salvation comes from me, right under the surface. You denied him because you loved him, knowing that if you recognized your love for him, you could not deny him. Your denial of him, therefore, means that you love him and that you know he loves you. Remember that what you deny, you must have once known. And if you accept denial, you can accept its undoing. Fair enough, isn't it? Your Father has not denied you. He does not retaliate, but he does call to you to return. When you think he has not answered your call, you have not answered his. He calls to you from every part of the sonship because of his love for his Son. If you hear his message, he has answered you, and you will learn of him if you hear aright. The love of God is in everything he created, for his Son is everywhere. You want to see God? See him everywhere, in everything, all your brothers and sisters. Look with peace upon your brothers, and God will come rushing into your heart in gratitude for your gift to him. Just all you have to do is look on peace on your brother, and it says that God will come rushing into your heart in gratitude for your gift to him. And that way we want, give peace a chance. So that God comes rushing into our hearts, and we get to know ourselves again, remember who we are. Our source is in us, hadn't left. Let's go ahead and read one more paragraph, and then we'll stop. And we'll be about halfway through with this section. Paragraph 8. Do not look to the God of sickness for healing, but only to the God of love. For healing is the acknowledgement of Him, the God of love. When you acknowledge Him, you will know that He has never ceased to acknowledge you, and that in His acknowledgement of you lies your being. You are not sick and you cannot die. Isn't that nice to know? You are not sick and you cannot die. But you can confuse yourself with things that do. Remember, though, that to do this is blasphemy, for it means that you're looking without love on God and His creation, from which He cannot be separated. So let's not do any blasphemy. Let's look on everyone as our brother. Let's not worship an idol, thinking that we're better or worse or anything. We're all one, and that our brothers are God in flesh. Christ has come. Okay, what's going on around the world today? Ramadan continues for your Islamic people. Assalamu alaikum. Lent continues for your Christian folks, Catholics and Orthodox alike. It's Cordad Sal Day, which is the birth of the prophet Zarathustra, who was born over there in Babylonia. What was that? Tigris and Euphrates rivers, eastern Iran, in 628 current era. Anyway, I may have that wrong. It might be 551. I'm not exactly sure. I wanted to have that figured out, but I thought it was the current era, 628, but it says it's till 551. Well, that kind of indicates it should have been 551 to 628. I'm not exactly sure on his dates, but today's his birthday. Happy birthday, Zarathustra, who spoke of the great Ahura Mazda, and the highest God, and that you could see in the fire. Okay, American Red Cross Giving Day, good day to give blood. Manatee Appreciation Day. There's 3 varieties around the world, 3 species. Are the Trichicus is the genera. I saw there was an Amazonian, a West African one, and I forget where the other one was at. Anyway, Good Hair Day. I've heard of bad hair days. Got a good hair day. Little Red Wagon Day for you people that they're fun to play with. All us kids played with the little radio flyers, didn't we? Live Long and Prosper Day. Leonard Nimoy, probably his birthday. I think I remember seeing that. Anyway, live long and prosper. May the force be with you. Mix a little bit here. Make up your own holiday day. Prince Jonah Kuya Kalaniaol Day, also known as just Kuhuyo Day, which was the Prince of Hawaii, born 1871, died 1922. Don't know if he helped the original people or if he was a special interests folks. I don't know. You can kind of look at broad categories of people that call themselves leaders, of whether or not they were interested in the masses' betterment or just a select interest of a few people that seem to even exploit the masses in order to get ahead. There's those 2 types of governments. We want to certainly promote the one that's of equal, where we're all equal. I just don't know about Prince Jonah Kuhuyo. Solitude Day, good day to be at peace, be quiet. Purple Day supports epilepsy. I got a little purple right there. Let's see, support those with epilepsy. Wear a hat day. Well, I had a hat earlier, but I took it off because I like you all to be able to see my face when I look down at my book. Whole grain sampling day. It might be a good day to try some things you may not be used to, like chia, flax, hemp. Those are all good, high protein. Quinoa, those are, and I think all 4 of those have complete proteins. But they got spelt and amaranth. Anyway, try grain today, whole grain today. And okay, let's see, what else do we have for today? Our word for Spinach Day. And that's why I'm sitting here in front of this circle of, I've got radishes, spinach. The darker green here is the spinach right here. The darker green is the spinach. I probably should have had that all brought up here so I didn't take so much time. Anyway, it's doing knife. Shouldn't probably eat while I'm talking. Mom tells me that. Okay, let's go take a look now at our, you know what, did I not bring my Seed Savers Exchange catalog with me? I thought for sure I had it here with me, but I'm sure not seeing it. So we'll not talk about Bloomsdale spinach today. We'll maybe talk about it tomorrow. Let me look, make sure. That is very unusual that I would leave something behind, but it does look like I did it. And I don't think I have, so anyway, it's a nice, I like this circle gardening. I just make a circle. It's about, 4 or 5 foot diameter, and works out real nice for, I did have it. It's right here. Okay, let's read about Bloomsdale now. It took a while. Spinacia oleracea out of Seed Savers Exchange, producing vigorous upright plants with dark green glossy savoyed leaves. This variety is very tender with an excellent flavor. Plants grow to 10 inches and 2 to 3 inches long leaves, a quick growing variety that produces heavy yields. Bloomsdale is ideal for late spring and summer plantings. It is also slow to bolt. Developed in 1874 by Dr. Landreth and Sons Seed Company of Philadelphia, 39 to 60 days. 2,200 seeds to the ounce. And let's close with our song. My grievances hide the light of the world in me, and my salvation comes from me. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. And if you get tempted, say, let me not use this as a block to sight, or the light of the world will shine all this away. Or I have no need for this, I want to see. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. My salvation comes from me, comes from me. My salvation comes from me, comes from me. If you're tempted, here's some specific things you might just tell yourself. Let this not tempt me to look away from me for my salvation. Or I will not let this interfere with my awareness of the source of my salvation. Or this has no power to remove salvation from me. My salvation comes from me, comes from me. My salvation comes from me, from me. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. That means my forgiveness lets the light of the world be seen in me. My salvation comes from me. My happiness comes from me. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. My salvation comes from me, comes from me. And our word for peace is from the Law people of the Kafu River in Zambia, and it's Chibanda. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. My salvation comes from me. Chibanda.